Hey everybody, it's me, Elisha Kramer. Um, so this was the first Thanksgiving that uh, my wife and I, who are I guess separated according to her, and she's seeking divorce, uh, didn't spend together. I ended up going to my parents' house, which I usually do, but it's usually when we used to go as a family. It was always a rushed affair because we'd go to her mother's and stepfather's for a few hours, and then we'd stop at my parents' house for an hour or two, and then we would end up at her father and her mother in law's. Um, but I wasn't invited to either meal. I'm not sure if I needed to be, but I decided to go and spend time with my dad because my brother, I just recently moved to Texas. My sister, who has stage 3 or 4 breast cancer at this point, is on a cruise with her fiance. Um, and so that leaves me the eldest child and the only child in the state. And considering the status of uh, my wife and I's relationship, I wasn't even asked if I was going or going to be there, so I kind of took that as you're not invited, which is fine. I didn't want to cause any tension. I don't harbor any resentments. She does. She's very angry, and I don't want to get into her too much, but she's been deceitful, and stolen money and the whole. You know how it goes. I mean, anyway, I'm looking to sell my business this year, coming up in 2025, or as soon as possible. My sub and pizza shop. I've been doing it for, well, it'll be 20 years in February if I make it that long. Um, but to be frank, I've lost interest in it, and that happened probably 4 or 5 years ago. Um, However, there's some back taxes issues, which has kind of been the issue with my wife. I absolutely take full responsibility for those mistakes and those taxes. But at the same time, she, with one small conversation with my accountant, who is a friend of ours, decided that only I could do the taxes. I didn't need any help or whatever. So I did do. I did get caught up pretty much for the most part within a few months of having my taxes set. I paid a bunch off, and we had kind of agreed that the profit from our previous home was going to be used to at least pay down some of, if not all of, the sales tax here in Pennsylvania. Um, well, what I had found out is she, quote unquote, changed her mind, and that was a long time ago. And I kind of like put it off and put it off, and I just didn't know what to do. I'm like, there's no reason for me to progress any further here because I don't have any money, and this is all at the same time when Joe Biden's getting elected. Um, Inflation starts kicking in. I knew inflation was coming, so I raised my prices at my business at the sub and pizza shop, and um, then all of a sudden it was really hard to find employees. They all wanted to be paid a lot of money. Corporate kind of took over during COVID 1984. And so for small mom and pops like me, it's tough to keep up. I can't pay everybody $15 an hour. I just can't. Like a Starbucks or something like that. Um, that being said, I don't pay minimum wage at 7.25 by any means. I pay quite a bit more than that. In fact, nobody's making under like 10.50 an hour. That's like basically the hiring price for someone that has no experience whatsoever. Uh, excuse me for 1 second. Sorry about that. And these are things I'll work on. Right now, I'm just recording off my new iPad Air 2024. I'll tell you guys what, if you ever have issues with any of your devices, like on a technical scale or damage or it just stops working or whatever, don't go to your local AT&T store. Don't go to your local Verizon store. Don't I wouldn't even call any 1-800 numbers. I would use the online chat feature like on Twitter, I'm sorry, on X, or you know, they're on all social media, I think, at this point. So if you make us think about something, they're going to reply. What happened to me was my old, I think it was a 2019 AirPad Air 2. The home button, when they used to have home buttons, was getting so hot that it physically burnt my finger and blistered my thumb up. And so I posted this on X, and immediately I got both AT&T and Apple to reach out. AT&T, I think, ended up being the first and the most effective, and so kudos to them. Of course, I've been a customer for 25 years, maybe now, 99, 98, I don't know. But anyway, try the online chat function. It's amazing what they can do. And anyway, so long story short, I complained about it, and within, I don't know, 48 hours, maybe 72 hours, so 2 or 3 days at the most, I had a brand new iPad Air 2024, 256 megabytes delivered to my house. Like, actually, it was next day from the time I complained, so maybe it was only like 48 hours. But my point being, and I've had other success doing stuff this way. Like when I was trying to get either a cell phone bill lowered or cable lowered or something like that, I reached out to the online folks, and they seem to have, I don't know if it's more leeway or if they think that if you're using, you know, online methods to connect with people, to connect with like tech support or customer service or whatever, that you're probably not 75 and you're probably not going to just accept yeah, sorry, I'm watching the football game. That's horrible. I shouldn't do that. You're probably not 75 and you probably know what you're talking about, and the last thing you want to do is get bad press. And granted, I only have about 700 subscribers, give or take. It seems to fluctuate. I've been to 725, I've been down to 698, now I'm at 70. I don't know. X is weird, but my point of all this is just, I guess, to document my first real holiday that I didn't spend with my family. I'm sorry, with my wife's family. But I will say what was really nice was that my daughter, who I did not ask or try to put pressure on or whatever, on her own reached out to me, and because everything was very much up in the air. Like, nobody said anything. Nobody said, I'll be there, I won't be there. My wife did say goodbye to me before she left. I hope that she wasn't expecting me to come to that, to my in-laws. And I love my in-laws, I do, you know. But I have some issues with some of them, sure. But I mean, like, you know, I've known my wife's mother my entire life, you know, for the most part. I dated my wife when I was 12, actually, and then again in early 20s before we got married. Her stepdad, so my stepfather-in-law, I guess you would call him, he's just a nice guy. He's a good guy. He likes to hunt and stuff like that. It's his big thing. And then you have my wife's father and mother-in-law, and I just love her dad. I think he's a great guy. He's helped us out so much. He's been so gracious. And her mother-in-law is, I love her. I mean, I think she and I have a unique relationship, but, you know, she's a little quirky. Let's just put it that way. Like, um, I've since learned my lesson, but, we've been married for almost, I'm sorry, forgot to mention, we celebrated 20 years of marriage yesterday, so our 20th anniversary, and it was her birthday. No gifts were exchanged, no pleasantries, no nothing. But anyway, back to my stepmother-in-law. She's very quirky, and like, this goes back probably I don't even know, a decade and a half or whatever, but I'll never forget it. I sat down, it was Thanksgiving, we're at we're at family's house. It was our third Thanksgiving of the day, which, sidebar, the last 20 years of my life, Thanksgiving, that used to be my favorite holiday, turned into my least favorite holiday because we were constantly going from one spot to another spot to the next spot. So it was like trying to fit three in a day. And more times than none, my family got the shaft time-wise, but I didn't bitch, I didn't complain. I was just being the man, and trying to make my wife happy and respect all the family, uh, all the family dynamics, so to speak. So, anyway, I love my father-in-law. I think he's great. My stepfather-in-law, he's also a good guy too. I like him. I was gonna say something negative, I guess, just to show some contradiction, but they're two different completely type of men. Uh, Completely different type of men. Both are very handy in that regard, but they just have different interests. But as far as my mother-in-law, my stepmother-in-law, um, I don't know. I don't want to say anything negative. They've both been good to me. But like in my stepmother-in-law's house, I'll never forget. I sat down at the table, and I was probably, you know, uh, 30 years old at the time, or 28 or whatever, and I had a hat on because I have not much hair. Back then I had more hair, but she like berated me and told me to take my hat off, and it was disrespectful. And I was like, all right, I get that. That's not new to me. I'm, Gen X, so I know that you don't wear a hat at a table. But this was family, it was informal. And the tone was demeaning. And at the same time, there were, at least for several years, I always got stuck. You always had to bring out extra chairs at a big Thanksgiving get together, or whatever. And not that this our get together was exceptionally large or whatever, but I seem to always get stuck in this like fold up chair, this cheap piece of shit chair, or whatever. And I always take it kind of personally or whatever, but whatever. I smiled and grinned and bared it. And now my mother-in-law, and I, excuse me, Mary, I think we have a good relationship. I'm not sure what'll happen after this divorce or separation, but my guess is that she has similar feelings about my wife that I do. Um, so anyway, to all you people out there that are maybe alone on Thanksgiving, I was blessed not to be alone today, because I could have been, very easily. Uh, but But my mom made a fantastic, fantastic Thanksgiving Day dinner, which I plan on eating again tomorrow. I brought some pumpkin pie home. Um, but I just wanted to encourage people out there that are struggling, because I've been really struggling a lot lately. Financially, spiritually, trying to figure out the right thing to do. When you have money, I keep saying stolen, but it is stolen. I mean, she hasn't gone and spent it yet, so to speak, but she somehow feels justified to that money because she paid the mortgage on our previous house at, $500 or $600 a month, which is true. However, I paid for, electric, cable, cell phone, oil, and back then, oil was up to like 489, 490 a gallon. So a lot of times I was buying either at minimum or very close to at minimum, which would be 125 gallons. But my point being, I had that. I had water and sewer bills that I paid. So in other words, I paid every other bill uh, in terms of the household and running the household, which added up to be considerably more. I mean, considerably more than her mortgage payments. Uh, but yet, when I bring it up, she doesn't see, which I don't quite understand, but she doesn't see that it's the same thing, that both our names are on the title, both our names are on the money. But what she did this time was she took, $60,000 and she withdrew it from a joint account we had at a credit union, and then she put it into her own personal account without my approval. Um, and so, anyway, things are a fucking mess right now. My business is faltering for multiple reasons. Although I can feel a slight improvement, but I personally am done with it. I've been done with it for years. Um, it was good to me. I liked it, but I wasn't running a sub in a pizza shop out of some nice, setup, which has a nice kitchen and was meant to serve food and whatever. It's an 140-year-old semi-rundown house that was converted almost 40 years ago into this sub shop. I think it was prior to that. I think it was a barber shop, and somehow I turned what was a failing business into a pretty successful business up until, like I said, about 2021. 2020 was the best year I ever had during COVID, as we were, we did a lot of takeout or whatever, and everybody was home, so that's what they were doing. And I made a ton of money, which all went to my taxes. So when I got kind of caught up on the paperwork end of things with my taxes, and I asked for, I asked her for the money, which in retrospect I should have just went and did instead of like asking. But she comes from a family, and this is on her mother's side, where I'm not going to get into it. But let's just say that when it comes to money, there's a side of the family that's very shady and shifty, and being like, not lying about it necessarily, but hiding money is like a normal thing with my wife's mother's side of the family, Mexicans, the Mexican side. I don't know. I feel like I'm rambling on right now, but uh, I don't know. It's just a tough time of year. Christmas is coming. I'm not sure I'm gonna make it through Christmas. Um, Emotionally, spiritually, I'm gonna look towards God to help me, and pray for His will and what He wants me to do. There's still this large part of me that wants to save this marriage, and like in my heart, but in my brain, logically, and what she's done and what she said, in the things I have confirmation of her saying, not to mention some damning videotapes. Which, by the way, she said I took videotapes of us being intimate, which is not true. But it's just like, it's tough to have a conversation with a narcissistic liar. And that is what she is. She began taking Ozempic a few months ago, which is that weight loss drug meant for diabetics, and she lost weight. Decided to stop dyeing her hair, so it's gray now. She told me that she never wants to be with another man again in her life, which I thought was odd. Um, so I don't know if anybody else out there has experience with like separation and divorce. I'd appreciate any kind of feedback. I'm not asking what to do. I mean, I know every case is different. I mean, we own a business together. I mean, a business that I ran. She works for Pepsi. I got a job that I got her, and she makes very good money for this area. Uh, and I used to make very good money, but part of it is there's an issue with of course, the inflation issue, like I talked about before. I had certain items, like we wrap our subs in a certain type of paper, right? Comes in a 50-pound box, and for the 20 year or the first 18 or 19 years that I owned the business, that product, that paper product, which I make no money off of, by the way, selling. It's just part of the business. It used to be like $50 to $60 range or whatever. It may have gone above 60 or whatever. I don't think it ever dropped below 50, but anyway, just that one item went from like $60 to $128. And I sell cheesesteaks. They're really good. Some of the best in town, if not the best in town. We hear it all the time. And even that went from like, I don't know, 309 a pound up to like 538 a pound or 638 a pound or whatever. There's a lot of fluctuation there for a while. But anyway, you combine that with wage increases that I had to give to retain people, and it was just a recipe for disaster. And then on top of that, these employees, which are mainly, kids from 16, 17, 18 years old to 23 maybe. Once in a while, you get an older person like 26, and I also hire a lady in her 50s, which is a mistake. But, you know, they all want 12, 13 bucks an hour minimum, and because they deserve a living wage or whatever, which is what the Democrats have taught them for years. And I would always fire back. I'm like, the way I had made a living wage when I was your age is I had 3 other roommates or more or whatever, and we all split the bills 3, 4, 5 ways, whatever. And so that's how we survived on a living wage. So anyway, it's almost been like the perfect storm. I I will admit that I'm not working 60 hours a week to save my business. It's not that I don't care. It's just that I have no interest in it, and it gives me anxiety to go in there every day. And I feel like she, by filing for divorce, which I guess is public record or whatever, that she has either intentionally or inadvertently tried to hurt the business, which makes no sense because her name's still in the business. And any profits I make from selling that business, which I'm desperately trying to do, I like to sell the property actually as commercial property with the business on it. I'm not sure if there's a way to word that because so I can rectify these tax issues. But she's got her attorneys. I got letters sitting over there. I haven't even read them yet. I don't really give a shit. I don't care what they say. And what am I doing right now? I'm getting into shit I shouldn't be getting into. Because I'm not trying to give away every detail of everything she's done. I'm not here to badmouth her, my wife or whatever. I still do love her. But I've come to the realization that something in her has changed spiritually. I said to her face that I felt like there's a demonic spirit in her, and I could see little demons on her shoulders, which of course she didn't like. But I'm a Christian. I'm the son of a pastor, son of a prophet, actually, which doesn't mean anything really, as far as I'm concerned, personally. But You know, God's blessed me with some excellent discernment. I mean, I can look at situations or people or whatever and know exactly what the truth is, whatever the situation may be. If that makes any sense. Uh, but anyway, so I wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, and if any of this hits home with any of you guys, let me know. Let me know how you handle separation and divorce, and if any of you have had success rectifying a separation before divorce, I'd also like to know about that. Um, I would do my taxes and stuff. Though I would take care of that issue if I had any money, but I have no money. I mean, I am flat broke at almost 49 years old. I'll be 49 in a month, almost to the day. Actually, January 1st. So I don't know if this will make it to YouTube or not, to my page, because I don't know if it's the, the theme I want or whatever. Don't want a page talking about separation and divorce. No, no. I mean, I enjoy things like, you know, like homesteading, just like type stuff. You know, not so much animals. Although I did have chickens. I did have chickens. I needed to start another flock, but you know, I planted fruit trees. I have a garden. I've got a permaculture fruit forest. So that's that's what I'm interested in, and lose my train of thought. I don't know. Anyway, please comment below, share the video. My name is Elisha Kramer again, and coming to you from Appalachia in Pennsylvania. Uh, that's all. I'll be in touch.